I wonder if there's a word for like compulsive, compulsive video making. Probably is, isn't there? I remember reading a book once about these guys who wanted to see if they could get themselves admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I think it was an American book. And they did it by, like by pretending to be unwell or distressed to a certain level. And they did it. And when they were in there, they were like writing notes about everything, about what the hospital's like and about everybody else there. And that became to be seen one of their symptoms. And they called it graphomania, the mania for graphing, writing, graphology, graphic, pencil, whatever, writing. So, but video mania, it's a funny world, YouTube, isn't it? But I do, been watching it for so long, really, and it's really takes up the largest portion of my life, watching people in all different corners of the world, large channels, and very private sort of channels about people's innermost thoughts, and you see it from their room and the things that they've got their like around them, whether it's books or a sofa or a cat, a cup of tea, and you just see them little glimpses into people's lives. It's very rich. It's very rich in a way. I mean, another thing is that it can sort of overwhelm you. It does me. It's just that I don't. When I step out into the world, then it's I want to get back to looking at videos. Not always, I do like the world. I do like seeing flowers and but I want to start walking down a road with big trucks and stuff. I want to get back to watch one of the videos I was watching. But I know that you can go too far with it. You can just go too far, can't you? And the subject that a lot of us are talking about, it's very intense. It's incredibly intense, and it just addresses so many other malaises and issues in life and in the country, in our I don't know if culture. I don't know if it's the culture in the political world, in the world of power, really, and how people either use power well or use it badly. Power's invested in them individually and corporately in the institutions, but some people use power very arrogantly and very badly, and they shouldn't have. They should be nowhere near any kind of power. So Evans should never have been anywhere near any kind of power to make judgments about other people's lives and what they have and haven't done or did and didn't do, or about their health, actually. I don't think, because he's dangerous. And likewise, Detective Hughes shouldn't be in a position of influence and power and making decisions about the likelihood of crimes having been committed and then who has committed those crimes. But the first port of call is whether crimes have even been committed, and that wasn't achieved. That wasn't properly assessed. So it was wrongly assessed. Got the fairy lights back up, and that's good. But I've just been sending a message to a friend, and I was going to say, all the stuff today about, I got into a real froth about I don't know why I get into a froth about it. The stuff about, what do you call it, unheard, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I still feel what I feel about it, but there's other fish to fry, isn't it? All that matters, well, not all that matters, but one of the principal things is just, come on, CCRC, just give the right answer and we'll crack on. It will just lead where it's got to go. It might seem a bit of a sidetrack thing, but this thing it's been on Twitter today, this exchange between Phil Hammond and Jed Mercurio, and the idea of it's related to it, because as I talked about it in the video I did yesterday, I think it's a signifier that they're not going to touch it. I don't think they'll ever touch it. Maybe they will. Other people responded, and I was reminded, and I think other people said it as well. They did do a film about Lucia de Burgh eventually, didn't they? I don't know. I can't remember what year that film was made and how long after her exoneration. But they did a film. They did a film about it. But there's something about the United Kingdom, or British state as is at the moment, and the establishment, that I don't think would want to project a drama that would have to reveal the grave injustices, but everything that's wrong in this picture, that would necessarily show everything that's wrong across this wide range of institutions, and how they relate to each other, and the failures of them, the profound failures of them. I don't think they'll want that to happen. But what that means is, how it gets translated is that something doesn't get commissioned. But maybe I'm just wrong about that, and maybe it will be. I don't know. If you were somebody who had been who had been put in prison for something you hadn't done, and more than that hadn't even happened, in terms of deliberate crimes, would you want somebody to make a drama about it? Would you want that? Would your family want that? I don't think I would. I don't think I would, but I can't speak for other people. So I don't know. There's that aspect to it as well, and then it's how would that. I'm not saying you don't do it because people don't want you to do it. I'm not saying that, but nonetheless, it would have effects on the person wrongly incarcerated, wrongly charged, wrongly persecuted, and all the parents concerned as well. But what somebody ends up doing, but it's got a bit sort of spiky on Twitter between Dr. Phil Hammond and former Dr. Jed Mercurio. I don't know. I don't know what all that side of it means. I don't think it's. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure what effect that would have on it one way or another. What would it have an effect? I just saw it more of as a signifier of, like, with this basic concept of follow the money. So a business decision is made. Well, we're not going down that track because things are changing. In other words, the story's changing. The reality, the general accepted reality, is on the change, is on the move. And we're not going to invest in a story that is. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure there's. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know these people. I don't know Jed Mercurio. I'm never going to know him, and it might be misjudging him. But I kind of wanted to say something like, I'm not sure they're particularly emotionally invested in it, and it's just the idea of like I said in the other video, it's a product. It's a cultural product that they're thinking of doing, or a business product actually, which is the drama. And if they don't see a clear way ahead with it, certainly not at the moment, then obviously it's going to be off the table, really, isn't it? Who's going to invest in it? Because nobody knows what it is. From their perspective, they don't know what it is, and they're not going to run with it, and they're not going to do it in advance of any formal exoneration. They're certainly not going to do that. They're not going to get the funding to do that either. Even if they had their own money, they're not going to do it, because it's in state of transition. The situation's in a transitional state, isn't it? And so there we are with that. Gosh, but it does. I know it gets to people. this really gets to people thinking, talking about this, the subject matter, obviously, the ongoing nature of it. It feels all encompassing at times. It's not, the trolls when they say, we're obsessed, or it's a mania, or we're like, and all the horrible things they say. It's not about that. I think has a kind of a broader existential effect, a kind of a soul effect. People mentioned about the idea of psyops, and I think there's something in that, the psyop idea. I don't know if it's a deliberate psyop. I'm not saying that, and I think it's real. It's not. I'm not saying it's not real, and it's all too real. But the effect of it, the effect of the awareness of a system that can act so poorly and is so seemingly unmanageable and doesn't want to find itself accountable to anybody or anything, but deems itself worthy and almost and brags about its qualities, and those qualities are patently missing. The value of truth and justice. To what degree are those values valued by those systems and by the individuals that work within them, and the structures by which they are administered? I think it's a severe lack, and so you end up with this kind of like it's like a broken machine, or a very badly clunky, rusty old machine that every now and again it kind of like throws out a bit of metal at you, and you just have to darken it or it'll take your head off. It feels resolutely and deliberately stupid in many ways, as do many of the people who seem to be or claim to be trained or are qualified and trained in these areas, and they'll make ridiculous statements that don't make any logical sense to the lay person. Like the idea that, that email would have no material effect on the outcome. It's just, and people would go, it's almost, you could call it gaslighting, or you could call it just bravado, call it sophistry. You just call it just the will to power. They're part of a system that will just say, well, we don't want to hear from you. We don't want to hear anything you've got to say, unless you force us, unless you shame us to such a degree, and there's such numbers of you, or there's certain of you that are influential enough. There doesn't have to be that many numbers, but there's certain voices, and obviously one example would be David Davis, because he's someone from that branch, from branch of government, with all that experience and all those contacts. So that is important in this. It shouldn't need people of any particular status. It should be. I know it does, though. I know it does. There's no point in bemoaning that fact. It just does, in order to move forward. And the thing I was saying about the idea about talking about excusing it's all them just making mistakes. Okay, I get the idea you can be on multiple tracks with this, and people can be. I understand that concept. I think Richard Gill left a comment, and somebody else did, or a few people. Is that there's more than one way to. You can do things. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. There can be more than one approach going on at the same time. And we're operating in different sectors, in different areas. So for what it's worth, whether it's a small channel or a tiny channel, or just whatever it is, whoever it is, or commenting, every comment, that it's all that seeks truth, that values truth, that values fairness, and wants to see this rectified. Energetically, it's all grist to the mill, as they say, whatever grist is. What is grist? I have to look it up. I did look it up once. I've forgotten what grist is. But it's obviously good, isn't it? It's grist to the mill. Is grist the stuff that you end up splitting between the... I'll have to look it up. Grist. I want it to be a good thing. Grist to the mill. So it's all good. And this idea of manifestation and energetic intention, even thinking about it, praying about it, that's what that's about as well, meditating. It being on your heart, and in your mind. All these things are having an effect, a cumulative effect. And they're creating a kind of a positive network, neural network within the individual, but also between people of, enormous distances away. People that, might not necessarily have certain other things in common. They don't need to, but it's something that's really caught them on in a kind of, maybe other people don't feel it this way, but in a emotional stroke spiritual way almost. It's caught hold of them. And yes, you'd want it for everybody that's been wrongly judged, unfairly treated. Things need to be put right, and well, if you're thinking of the whole world, then that's the work of... Could that ever even be... That could... Just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you don't do anything, does it? And there's something about this particular matter that would, I believe, have really strong, powerful echoes after it's put right, positive after effects for other people and for systems. If the institutions and the powers that be will it so, but then we should be in the position to say, well, if you're not going to put it right, we've got to put it right. But we've got to get access to those. I don't know about how other people feel, but I just feel it's all so distant. It's almost like you can't reach them. And they want to keep it like that, to make us keep feeling we can't reach these systems. But yeah, going back to the positive thing, we are reaching them. Whether it's, even if it's in thought, in prayer, in intention, in writing comments, in listening, in tuning in speaking, just in being, in a sense. It's having this... It's part of the manifestation of the change that we're desirous of, and that should be, that is in accordance and is congruent with natural law. So what's happened, quite simply, with Nurse Lucy Letby is completely in opposition to natural law. And so it's all about restoration of order. And that's the task, and the ongoing task for everyone that has been unjustly treated. But we have a particular focal point at this point in time. Many of us do. Thank you.